Welcome back to Backpacker Recipe Challenge. Yes, you're here, I'm sitting here in the dirt in the middle of Wyoming, and what we're cooking today and what we're going to try to match is a package meal. And what we have specifically is biscuits and gravy, a classic breakfast. A lot of you guys love this, but I think this is terrible and I think I can improve upon it. So come along while we try to match this package meal with fresh, real ingredients and only cooks up in 10 or 15 minutes. A couple things before we get going here. So one, thanks to Guanaco Jockey behind the camera, one of our great recipe testers, and also to Ash, another one of our great recipe testers. She tested this recipe a few months ago and she tested it here. Yeah, it's like she tested it on the Washington Mall in Washington, D.C. So it really shows you can cook a great meal anywhere. If you're new to me, Chef Corso, or new to our style of recipes, all recipes are ready in 30 minutes or less, 10 ingredients or less, no pre-prep, no dehydrating, no crappy packaged meal, because I want you to eat well with fresh ingredients. But all of our recipes are trail tested before they hit the website by our trail testers around the country. It's a really fun way to share this whole outdoor cooking thing and then make sure that the recipes work for these smaller capacity camp stoves. So let's get into it. The first thing we're going to do is boil up some water and cook up this packaged meal. And then we'll talk about some ingredients for our elevated biscuits and gravy breakfast. So while we wait for our packaged meal to hydrate, and before we get into the real recipe, here's our 360 panel view for the day. So let's take a look at our ingredients to match or better for the package meal. So at the base of any good biscuits and gravy is a sausage gravy. So what I am utilizing here today is some plant-based sausage. So this is a field roast, this is a apple maple flavor, but some really nice little links. But don't sleep on these plant-based meat options. They are pre-cooked, they're vacuum sealed, and last for multiple days on the trail. And what I do suggest is that you do not take raw pork or raw chicken sausage out on the trail. It's not going to last long. It's not going to be safe, but these can at least last for a couple days on the trail. If you are doing base camp cooking, then of course you can use fresh sausage. So the next thing is we need to build a gravy. So I'm using some non-fat milk powder, but you could also use these dairy creamers. I'd kind of make sure not to get the hazelnut or vanilla because that would be a little bit weird. To spice up and flavor up our gravy, these drink tab containers are really great for spices. We have some garlic powder, we've got some dried sage, we have some salt, some black pepper, we have a little bit of arrowroot powder for thickening, but you could also use a little bit of flour or cornstarch, and then I have just a little bit of rice vinegar here in an old, there it goes, in a old green juice bottle. It can be really, really helpful for just those small amounts of liquids, plus a little bit of oil. And lastly, we have our biscuits, and you will see that these are pre-baked, pre-made, pre-purchased, and there's a good reason for that. These smaller capacity camp stoves that we're cooking on do not do baking very well. There's just no way around it. They are meant to boil, saute, those type of things, and not bake. So don't worry about it. You can also steam bake if you really, really want to, but I don't really suggest it for this recipe. It's just going to take a long time and also take up a lot of fuel. So go ahead and just find a local bakery, find the grocery store for some pre-cooked biscuits, but most likely what they're going to look like once you get to the trail or the trailhead is this. Probably broken up just a little bit, and especially if you're using this on like day 3 or 4 of a trip, they're probably going to look like that, but that's completely okay because it's all mashed up anyway. All right, let's cook this thing up and see if it tastes any good. So as this gets cooking and simmering, it will start to thicken up, but it's also your opportunity to make it your specific thickness and also your specific flavor. So if you're ever concerned about any of these ingredients, so you can always add a little bit more. It's really hard to take away, but you could always add a little bit more salt, a little bit more sage, a little bit more black pepper. I'm also going to add that little bit of vinegar right at the end. And what that's going to do is just give us a nice little bit of freshness, really bring our gravy together. There we go. Now we're getting a little bit thicker. Nice. Oh man, bubbling cauldron of sausage gravy this morning. So we go ahead and shut off our heat. So what you can do next to finish it is either throw our biscuits right in here or bowl it up. So another thing to note for your gravy is that it will continue to thicken as it sits, but I like mine a little bit runny because then it can really start to saturate our biscuits here. But you do you for your own specific texture and thickness. Oh wow, that looks like a really hearty breakfast. Let's mash that around a little bit. All right, well, there's our fresh biscuits and gravy recipe with real ingredients in just about 10 minutes. So now I think we need to put them head to head and see how they taste. All right, well, I think it's time we taste both of them and see how we're looking this morning. So we've got our package meal here. And I don't know about you, but I hate eating out of a bag and like digging all the way down. But this is what it looks like. So pretty white and pretty mashed up. Wow, super pasty. Well, it's really soft in texture. It's actually not that high in salt. Like I could actually use some salt, which is bonkers because there's 900 milligrams of salt in this thing. For me, the texture is really extra soft. There's not a lot of seasoning or sage flavor. The thing about these packaged meals, at least for me, is like they might be okay for the first couple bites, but then as I eat the whole thing and they sit in my belly and I start to hike, I feel like absolute garbage. So that's something to note, but that's just me and my belly. The other thing to note here, too, is like look at our overall portion. Like this is one serving, and you know, this serving was probably $10 to $12. But our Monty Boca Outdoor Eats recipe here is a really large portion and can feed 2, 3, 4 people for maybe, let's see here, let's do a little quick little math. A couple biscuits, some seasoning, and probably most expensive thing is going to be the fake sausage. You know, maybe $5 to $8, but that's for the whole recipe. So we're looking at maybe a couple bucks per portion. So now let's taste the fresh version. Wow, the first thing that hits me is so much more flavor from those sausages, but also from the sage and the garlic that we added, and that little bit of freshness from our rice vinegar. With this specific recipe, there's not a whole lot of texture because we don't have anything crunchy in here, but the packaged meal over here was really, really soft and kind of like too pasty for me, but this is a little bit better. Well, there you have it. Backpacker recipe challenge. You know, I think this was a success. This does taste better. It doesn't take too long to cook up. But you decide. Make this recipe. Let me know how you like it. You could also spice it up. You could add some mushrooms. You can add some other things. Maybe you make some scrambled eggs on the side for a full diner experience. But get out there, make something amazing, somewhere awesome. Boca boca.